The House will come to order. This morning's pledge will be led by Elizabeth Pierce and Mikhail Landgraf, West Pine Elementary from Fountain, Colorado. And members and guests, these are the grandchildren of Representative Lois Landgraf.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Randall, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, Beckman, Benavides, Bridges, Buck, Buckner,
And are you guys siblings? Sister and brother? Stepsister.
Carver,
Stepsister and brother?
Catlin, Coleman, Covarrubias, Danielson, Escar, Everett, Everett, excused, Exum, Exum, excused, Foot, Garnett, Janal, Gray, Hamner, Hanson, Herod, Herod,
Excused.
Hooten, Humphrey, Representative Exum is present. Humphrey, Jackson, excused, Kennedy,
Excused.
Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lee, Leonard, Lewis, Liston, Lontine, Lundeen, McKean, McLaughlin, Melton, Michelson Janae, Neville, Pabone, Pabone,
Excused.
Pedersen, Representative Herod is present. Pedersen,
She's right there.
Rankin, Ransom, Ryer, Roberts, Rosenthal, Sane,
Excused.
Salazar, Sandridge, Sias, Singer,
Excused.
Thurlow, Valdez, Van Winkle. Van Winkle.
Excused. I hope all these excused people are on their way to the chamber.
Weisman. Willett. Williams.
Excused.
Wilson. Winkler. Winter. Winter.
Excused.
West. Young. Madam Speaker.
Excused.
Good morning, Connor. Sorry I missed that.
Okay, so I have Everett, Jackson, Kennedy, Representative Van Winkle is present. Representative Williams is present. Everett, Jackson, Kennedy, Pabon, Sane, Singer, Winter, and the Speaker.
With 57 present, 8 excused, a quorum is present. Representative Exum.
Good morning, Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
Good morning.
Madam Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the reading of the Journal of Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You've heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Announcements and introductions. Representative Salazar. No announcements and introductions this morning? Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, the clothing swap was a huge success. Thanks to everyone who donated. Thanks to all the customers who came. And there's been an informal poll by the organizer, and we have nominated Perry Buck as the MVP of the clothing swap. So thank you. We'll see you next year. We're going to do it every year.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, upon adjournment, we've got the second installment on the House Select Committee on Climate Responsibility. We're going to be hearing from rural. Yeah.
Pardon the intrusion. Folks, even though some of you are just arriving, we are to business, and introductions and announcements have begun, so please keep it down so we can get to work here. Representative Hansen.
Great. Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, I appreciate a moment of your attention. I wanted to let you know we have the second installment of the House Committee on Climate Responsibility. We're going to be meeting upon adjournment in the basement committee rooms. We're going to be looking closely at rural opportunities, how we can mitigate the climate and also create rural income streams. Hope you'll join us upon adjournment.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I have an important announcement.
All right, hold on one second. Members, there is an important announcement. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, you're going to like this announcement. Tomorrow we will start on the floor at 10 a.m. The Executive Committee will be meeting at 8 a.m. in the basement in room 109 to go over the recommendations from the outside consultant who is reviewing our workplace harassment policies. Because that meeting will probably go from 8 till close to 10, we will not start on the floor until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Any further announcements or introductions? Assistant Minority Leader West. And members, this morning we do have a tribute. Can we please have your attention?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Buckner and I have a tribute, and I ask that it be read at length.
The House of Representatives, convened in the 71st General Assembly, hereby extends sincere commendations to Children's Health Day. Children's Health Day is an ongoing effort to promote good health, regular exercise, and a nutritious diet for all Colorado children. Colorado's future depends on the good health and success of our children, and ensuring that all children in our state have knowledge of and access to adequate healthy food and safe places to exercise and play is essential to ending both malnutrition and obesity in Colorado's children, as well as increasing focus in the classroom. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are proud to recognize April 4th, 2018 as Children's Health Day in Colorado, and thank the students of Indian Ridge Elementary School and the Living Closer Foundation for their hard work and contributions to the promotion of essential good health for children across our state. On request of Representative Cole Wist, given this 4th day of April 2018, State Capitol in Denver.
Assistant Minority Leader West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indian Ridge is in the House. Good morning, everybody. Proud to represent all of you from House District 37. Who has their carrots this morning? Who has their apples today? I know Representative Buck does. Members, we have nutrition choices to make every day. And it's important that we start our kids off right, making the best choices in terms of nutrition and exercise and getting outside and maybe having a little less time in front of those electronic devices. But I am very proud to recognize the students of Indian Ridge Elementary who are here. I believe this is the 4th year that we have recognized Children's Health Day here in the General Assembly. And we're just so proud of all of you for speaking out, for your leadership on the importance of your health and the importance of sometimes educating and prodding adults on making better health choices. So thank you very much for being here today. And we'll have introductions here in a moment. And I'm sure Representative Buckner would like to extend her greetings as well.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And yes, I am so excited to give greetings from House District 40, which is right on the border of Indian Ridge Elementary School. I'm a personal friend of the principal of the school, Mr. McDonald, and I'm so excited to see him here today. And these kids are teaching adults how to eat properly, which means as children, they're going to be way ahead of all of us as far as nutrition. So keep up the good works. And for those of you up in the balcony, we see you and we love you, and keep doing good things for nutrition.
Assistant Minority Leader West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With your permission, I'd like to introduce some representatives from Indian Ridge and the Living Closer Foundation.
Please do.
From the Living Closer Foundation, Andrea Durrell, and just, I know you're all standing over there, but give us a wave. Marianne Sowen and Dina Wallen. Did I get everybody from Living Closer? Okay. Dina Wallen, I didn't pronounce your name correctly. I got it the second time. And of course, Skippy, who's taller than me. Skippy the Superoo. And most people are taller than me, Skippy, so that's not saying much. But it's great to have you here with us. The principal of Indian Ridge Elementary School, our good friend Matthew McDonald, and the students, teachers, and parents from Indian Ridge Elementary School. Give everybody a big wave. I love your bright shirts. Those are awesome. And we also have some students from West Middle School who are here with us. So West Middle Schoolers, give us a wave. There we go. And again, members, thank you very much for your time this morning to recognize the importance of health. We all know that decisions we make about health certainly impact all of us as a state, can certainly have fiscal impacts on the health policy and the decisions that we make as legislators. So again, thank you, kids. Appreciate your leadership. Thank you to the Living Closer Foundation. It's an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Further announcements or introductions? Further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Representative Harrod, Representative Melton, Representative Exum, Representative Buckner, and Representative Coleman.
I don't think it has to be personal privilege.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, can I have your attention, please? Today is a very special day for all of us here in this country and across the land. As you know, 50 years ago today, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. His legacy lives on in all of us today, but specifically today, as we go into our work, I want us to remember his words. I will ask for a moment of personal privilege and then hear remarks from the caucus. So, Madam Speaker, may I have, a moment of silence?
Moment of silence is granted.
The night before Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, he gave what I think was one of his most prolific speeches. In that speech, he said, "I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land." Members, I believe that this body and many others across the country have worked tirelessly to ensure that we have equality, specifically for African Americans, but also for all of those in this country. I know that that is a value held by both sides of the aisle, and I very much respect the work of every single member of this body who is fighting to make sure that that is a reality and that continues to be a reality. I want to thank you all for your speeches that we open up our legislative sessions with, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, and I want to thank you all for your time and personal privilege today, and ask that we continue to fight for equality. For those who need us to fight for them, I want us to always remember them in our hearts as we continue our work forward. Thank you.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members. I appreciate your attention to this great day where we remember a great man. I said when we opened the session that I hope that Dr. King's dream hasn't died, and I believe that as we've worked together this legislative session, we've proven that his dream hasn't. I'm glad to say that on both sides of the aisle, we've worked together well to make sure that we're addressing the needs of all Coloradans, regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity. I think that there is still work to be done, and in order to continue Dr. King's dream, we can't forget the sacrifice that he made and that so many others made. And so I hope that, again, we continue to move forward with the mindset of making sure that Dr. King's dream stays and remains alive.
Thank you, members. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Lentine.
I just, as the Black Caucus was talking about Dr. Martin Luther King, I couldn't help but look at my desk today, and on my calendar that I received, if you all would take a quick look, if you have your Colorado Children's Campaign calendar, it says a look at Denver's desegregation history. And I just want to mention, I grew up in the South. Many of you know that. And when I went to high school, my high school was integrated, and all of the kids went to one school, and I had the privilege of going to school with the African American children in my community, and I think my life was richer for it. But I bring that up because when I was growing up, I used to look at my mother's high school annuals, and of course she went to schools in the South, the school just down the road from me, and I couldn't help but notice in her high school annual there were no black children in her high school. Recently, I asked her why that was, and she told me because those kids weren't allowed to go to her school. They had to go to school at a school 45 minutes away. And if you could imagine the hardship those kids felt, not being able to go to their neighborhood school, Most of them didn't have any way to get to that school. And this is a legacy of the separate but equal. And I just wanted to bring that up and remember that today. So thank you for your attention.
Further announcements and introductions. Any further announcements or introductions? Going once, going twice, seeing no further announcements or introductions. That does take us to general orders, second reading of bills. Representative Escar. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Escar will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for a reading of bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and the coat roll is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1245.
House Bill 1245, Representatives Rosenthal, Michelson, Janelle, Senators Fenberg, and Guzman, concerning a prohibition against a mental health care provider engaging in conversion therapy with a patient under 18 years of age.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I move House Bill 1245, and there is no committee report.
To the bill, Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, this is the now fourth time that I'm introducing this bill, and this year along with my colleague, Representative Michelson Janae. And I'm hopeful that perhaps this is the year it's going to pass not just the House, but the Senate as well. This is something where we have in our country a practice, and this practice is deplorable. And what is going on is LGBTQ youth are being made to feel badly for who they are. They're being made to go to a supposed therapist who is getting them to basically go against who they are as a person. And so what this is based on, this deplorable practice, is on the fact that some still believe that homosexuality is not just a sin, but also a mental illness, which we all know was declassified from the DSM in 1973. So this is not a radical bill. This is tried in other states. This has been challenged in court and found to be upheld. And so what I'm hoping, members, is that you will approve it, and that we will also send a signal to our friends and colleagues in the Senate that they should also approve it as well. Thank you.
Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much to my colleague for the opportunity to serve with you on this piece of legislation. As you know, one of the key areas that I often fight for here in this chamber is suicide prevention. And one of the key factors of suicidality of our youth is feeling like they are not being accepted. And this particular practice for our youth makes them feel like they are not accepted by the people they need the most in their life, their parents. And so we humbly ask that you vote yes on the passage of this bill so that we can keep our families whole.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1245? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And didn't happen to hear this in committee, but I do rise in opposition on a free speech basis. I think that this is very troubling. In the bill, we're defining what we're calling conversion therapy. Any practice that has to do with dealing with the confusion that someone might be experiencing in terms of gender that does not, under the definition of what the government would consider to be acceptable therapies, which does not provide acceptance, support, and understanding, social support, identity exploration, development. So this really isn't the role of government to come in here. I understand that there certainly have been some abuses in this area. That's not what I'm defending. I am defending speech, and certainly this is something that a family, that a child would want to be able to discuss, and under this bill, that'd be a crime, or not a crime, but it would be something that they would come under discipline and be put out of, possibly lose their license to practice therapy. So it's a very serious matter, and I think that what this is about is free speech, and we need to be very vigilant whenever we have attacks on free speech of this sort. And you know, there's more that could come down the pike on gender issues that would attack free speech. So I think it's important to take a stand here and oppose a bill like this. Thank you.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, we've heard this bill, I think, 4 times. And my problem with the bill is the same as it's been. It's not the practice. It's the fact that we did hear from people who felt they benefited from it. And I can't, I can't say that they were lying. They felt they benefited from it. So to pass this bill would be to take that away from that group of people. And that's why I'm a no. It's not that I support the practice, but it's a one-way street if we ban it. Thank you. I'd ask for a no vote.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I want to talk to you a little bit about what this bill does and doesn't do. Every day in this body, and for years, this body has made decisions on licensing and regulations around practices that can be harmful for the people of Colorado. We know that the conversion therapy practices are harmful for LGBT people in Colorado. LGBT suicide rates continue to go up in part because of these types of practices. Members, what this bill does not do is say that a church cannot practice its religious freedom. What this bill specifically says is that if you are a licensed therapist in Colorado, that you cannot do conversion therapy. You cannot practice conversion therapy in Colorado. If you are a therapist or a friend and you want to offer a certain type of counseling, you can still do that under this bill.
Representative Herod, one moment, please. Members, it's getting a little loud in here. We have a debate happening at the well, please. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if you are offering a workshop or a camp, and in your camp you talk about certain practices that you believe are good or bad, you can still do that. But as a licensed therapist in Colorado, you cannot hold your license out and say that you are doing no harm to the young people of Colorado, to young LGBT people of Colorado, because we specifically know that that is not true. This bill simply bans that practice. You know, we have spent hours in this building talking about things like dry needling and other things like that. I think it's important that when we license people to practice in this state, that we determine what should be included in that license. And if it is something that has been deemed to increase the rate of suicide, increase the rate of self-harm, increase the rate of depression amongst LGBT people, it should be banned in this state. Thank you.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you've heard from the previous speakers, we did hear extensive testimony on this bill. And while there were people that came in and testified to horrific practices while undergoing this type of conversion therapy, that should be subject to ethics violations and ethics complaints against the practitioners, the licensed therapists. Because if somebody is being tortured, that is obviously not something that should be approved and allowed to happen in this state. However, as Representative Landgraf mentioned, we also heard from people that said that they really appreciated the chance to explore, to try to figure out, to talk about their confusion. Some people are confused. Somebody that called me said not everyone who is confused about their gender wants to change it. Some people do want to and some people don't want to, but the whole point is that this bill would judge outcomes and not practices, and that there are licensed counselors and licensed therapists that might want to work with somebody and do it in a proper way, not a torturous way. And we also heard that there were questions with the violation of freedom of speech, due process laws, and obviously the use of force, abuse, shame, or coercion should not be allowed, but that is not what this bill is talking about. It is just talking about the outcome. So for those reasons, I would urge a no vote on the bill.
Representative Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, Representative Rosenthal said this is the 4th year he's brought this bill forward. And I'm sorry that this is the 4th year I've had to come to the well and talk about this bill and the importance of this bill.
Just a moment, Representative Eskar. Members, please pay attention to the well. Representative Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a therapy that has been proven dangerous. Dangerous to our youth. We want to talk about discovering who they are. They want to talk about questioning, as Representative Ransom talked about, people wondering where they're at. There's a difference between therapy and conversion therapy. I myself went through therapy when I was questioning who I was. Nobody forced their beliefs on me. Nobody told me I was going to hell. Nobody told me I was a horrible person. Nobody made me question my faith in God. My therapist, my licensed therapist, guided me through my truths, helped me work through to find where I was and who I was. That's what's healthy. That's what our kids deserve. They don't deserve to be told they are less than anyone else or that what they believe and what they feel is wrong. That's what we're asking for in this bill. There's a difference between therapy and conversion therapy. I 100% support therapy. It changed my life. It pulled me out of a life of depression, a life of lies, trying to figure out who I was. And that's all these kids are trying to do. These kids who are suicidal, kids who are having a hard time accepting what may or may not be right by their families, are just trying to discover who they are. This has been proven to be detrimental. This therapy has been proven to be harmful. And I've said it before in this well, and you know what? I'm going to say it again. I bring with me today the LGBT youth that I had the honor of mentoring when I was working in Pueblo. Those kids that you nurture, that you let them explore and embrace and be comfortable with who they are, turn out to be some of the best citizens. They extend their hand and help others because people believe in them. Conversion therapy is wanting to convert you. That's what conversion therapy is. Converting someone into something they're not instead of helping them explore their own truths. Some people go through therapy thinking that they may be gay, may not be gay, they can't figure it out, they want to go through therapy, and realize that, you know what, maybe they're not. We don't convert. Therapists, that is not their job, is to do any type of manipulation. Therapists' jobs are to help you walk through your truths and heal yourself. I just want to make sure that when we're discussing this bill, we understand the difference between important therapy and conversion therapy. Thank you, Representative Michelson-Jeannet. Thank you, Representative Rosenthal, for continuing to bring this bill forward. I will stand by you until this passes completely. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1245? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick note on the notion that this is simply about conversion. This isn't just some sort of religious therapy. This goes back to psychodynamic theories that dealt with inner conflicts, that sort of thing, which are purely secular in nature, and done in a supportive environment, discussing issues that someone has around gender in a voluntary, consensual setting. I don't see why that needs to be prohibited by the state. We don't need to have preferred speech based on ideology being prescribed by the state. And so again, I would urge a no vote.
Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I heard this bill in committee not for the first time and maybe not the last time, but I do continue to support Representative Rosenthal's bill, and this year Representative Michelson-Jeannet joined him. I just wanted to mention that we had heard that supporters of conversion therapy are major health organizations, according to one person who testified. And I'd like to point out two of those major health organizations. One of them was the American College of Pediatricians, which sounds really great, right? And the Alliance for Scientific Integrity and Therapeutic Choice also sounds, sort of legit. But both of these major health organizations are listed as hate group and putting out hate speech on the Southern Poverty Law Center's website. I don't think those supporting the type of therapy that is considered as hate speech should be something that we should be pouring into our children and causing them really psychological harm. So I would ask you to consider that in your vote, and please vote in support of this bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1245? Representative Michelson-Jeannet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, as we maybe wrap up some of this debate, part of what we've heard today is the concept that this might be consensual. I just want to say that this bill specifically is for youth who are 18 and under, and that the youth that we heard from were not brought by choice. They were forced. There wasn't a consensual setting. Some of the people that we heard from who felt they had a positive experience were adults, and they had it in an adult setting. This does not impact that at all. This also is for licensed clinical therapists. So if you have a program in your faith organization, et cetera, this does not impact that at all. This is just for licensed clinical therapists under the state of Colorado. And we often talk about how those who are licensed by the state should not be doing things that are proven harmful. And this has been proven harmful, and it is irresponsible of us as a state to continue to allow this practice for youth.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know there was some mention of a psychological practice that I had not heard about earlier. So let's just go to the experts, and the experts in the field, and I'm not going to go down the long list of organizations, of associations of therapists who actually work with this issue. and work with youth who are struggling with their sexuality. So the American Psychological Association, and this is from their advice about this issue, they advise parents, guardians, and young people and their families to avoid sexual orientation change efforts that portray homosexuality as a mental illness or development disorder. Additionally, the American Medical Association, quote, opposes the use of, quote, reparative or conversion therapy, end quote, that is based on the assumption that homosexuality per se is a mental disorder. So these are the experts in the field. And these are the experts we should all go to say, look, how do we make sure that we are protecting our youth from this harmful practice? And to echo what some of my colleagues have said, there is no consent here. When you're a youth, you are in a family, and there is pressure on you to observe perhaps the norm in that family that is both good and bad. And the bad element of here that we're talking about in this practice is if a youth is brought by the family to a therapist who should be helping, and in the words of the bill, acceptance, support, and understand, and facilitate coping, social support, and exploration and development, that's what this therapist should be working on. That is what a therapist does. A therapist does not try to change, and this is in the words of the bill, change behaviors or gender expressions or eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attraction or feelings. That's not their job. That is not the job of a therapist. So I ask this body to approve this bill, send it to the Senate, and let them know that we have to protect our LGBTQ youth in Colorado. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1245? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, just briefly, I just wanted to step up and say, as someone who has practiced as a counselor, that psychology is such an inherently value-laden discipline. That dictates so much of what a therapist does. So certainly there are those on the left who would feel that anything that offended their sensibilities would be hate speech. But the profession widely is known for being, almost like 90% irreligious and even anti-religious in its history. So it's no surprising that so many organizations would be opposed to this and cast this as simply some sort of pray the gay away sort of conversion therapy. It's interesting that that term is chosen. And again, I urge no vote. We don't need the government prohibiting speech or coercing speech. Thank you.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I rise in strong support of House Bill 1245, not because I'm on the left or because anybody's offending my sensibilities, but because of the fact that I know history. And I know history so well that I know that conversion of any sort has had a dark mark in our U.S. history. Do we not recall how people thought that they would wipe out the indigenous culture by putting them in religious boarding schools and basically trying to pray away their indigenous nature? Do we not recall how horrible of an experiment that has been, where even today, many decades later, we are now trying to apologize for that kind of conversion?
Representative Salazar, one moment, please. Members, it's getting loud in here again. Please be respectful and take your conversations to the side. Representative Salazar.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I'm trying to grasp in my mind here how it is that we have not learned our lessons from the past. That this isn't about your ability to practice your religion in whatever way that you want, whether it be in a hateful manner involving conversion therapy or some other manner. That this is a dark mark in our history that we need to get rid of. That conversion therapy is a repetition of history. And we're in the 21st century, 2018. And why haven't we learned our lesson? Why is it that it's taken 4 times for this bill to go through this chamber for anybody to understand that this isn't about you and your religious belief. That this is about human beings who may or may not be questioning their sexuality, their gender identity, but about human beings who are looking for someone to help them walk through a very difficult period of time without judgment and without conversion. Why can't we learn these lessons already? What is it about human beings that causes us to throw up those walls and not learn the lessons of history? Is it ignorance? Is it arrogance? What is it? Is it religious righteousness? I'm trying to figure this out. My 6th year here in the chamber, and I'm still trying to figure this out. How it is that we can harm kids and people try to justify it by saying, well, don't trample on my religious rights, particularly when I'm using my religious rights to trample on you. When will we learn that this kind of history should not repeat itself? Are we just doomed to failure as human beings to constantly tread over horrible parts of our history? I rise in support of this bill because it stops the history from repeating itself. It cuts that cycle. It honors the human being for being a human being, whether you like it or not. It does something that we pray to do here as legislators, and that's to stop that darkness within ourselves and repeating those horrible histories that we should have learned these lessons to a long time ago. Thank you very much, Representative Rosenthal, Representative Michelson-Jeannet, and Madam Chair. Thank you for your stories, for being here fighting this battle all this time, for talking about your own personal experiences and how difficult those experiences are. Because in 2018, there shouldn't be anybody else having to talk about that darkness and that experience that may have caused them more harm than good. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Salazar. Is there any further conversation on House Bill 1245? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1245. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes have it. House Bill 1245 passes. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and you're doing a great job. Thanks for your leadership. I move to lay over House Bill 1260 until April 9th.
House Bill 1260 has been laid over. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1209 until April 9th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1209 will be laid over until the 9th. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1231 until April 9th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1231 has been laid over until April 9th. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1270.
House Bill 1270 by Representatives Hanson, Becker, J. House undertake concerning energy storage in connection with requiring the Public Utilities Commission to establish mechanisms for investor-owned utility to procure energy storage systems with certain criteria satisfied.
Representative Hanson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And members here today to ask for your support of House Bill 1270. I would move for the adoption of House Bill 1270, and I've got 2 amendments that we'll be bringing for technical cleanup, but I'll turn it over to my co-sponsor, Representative Becker.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is an important bill as we move forward with this technology with energy storage and how the PUC looks at this and how the energy companies have to deal with it and put it forward in front of the PUC. This is a technology that will help us with energy rates, it'll help us with energy costs, and it will also help in our everyday life. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Members, I'm going to ask one time. It's getting loud again. I have a speaker up here and I'm having a hard time hearing. So please keep your conversations to the side or quiet. Thank you. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move L004 to House Bill 1270.
How are you?
One moment, Representative Hansen. I need a copy.
Oh, you bet.
I'll wing it. Amendment L004 has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Hansen.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, this is the first of two technical amendments. We did some additional back and forth with some of the stakeholders, including the companies that would be involved in implementing this technology and have a little bit of language cleanup. I would ask for your acceptance of L004.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L004. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The one lonely aye out there I heard has it. Representative Hansen.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And members, one additional technical amendment. I move L005.
Amendment L005 has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Hansen.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment really is focused on allowing companies that are regulated by the PUC to put forward some small projects in the next few months to really get this effort off the ground. And then the full evaluation of storage technology will take place during the next planning phase, which starts in 2019. So this language in L005 just makes that possible.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L005. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no? No. Amendment L005 passes. To the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I would just like to end by saying a big thank you to my co-sponsor, Representative Becker. This may be one of the last bills we get to do together, so I get a little weepy, a little nostalgic already. But I really appreciate you digging in on this with me and getting into the technical detail. I think we've got a great change here in policy, and I appreciate your help.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate Representative Hansen's hard work on getting this done on an important topic that we'll all be dealing with. And it is a little sad that this may be the last bill we get to run together. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the Kumbaya bill of 1270? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1270. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1270 passes as amended. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1157 one day.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1157 will be laid over one day. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1131.
House Bill 1131, Representatives Michelson Janelle, Senator Carter, and Fields, concerning a program and facility conducting judicial proceedings via networking technology.
Representative Michelson Janelle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1131 and the Judiciary and Appropriations reports.
To the Appropriation Report.
There was no appropriation following the Judiciary Amendment.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. To the Judiciary report, Representative Michelson Janelle.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. In Judiciary Committee, we significantly changed House Bill 1131, which provides telejustice services, and we do have an amendment to the Judiciary report.
Representative Carver to the Judiciary Committee report. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L010 to the Judiciary Committee report and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L010 has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Carver, please explain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to commend...
Representative Carver, one moment, please. Members, the volume's getting up again, and we have an amendment that we are trying to discuss. Representative Carver, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to commend Representative Michelson Janae and Representative Benavides for working on this amendment with me. The bill, as it initially came to the committee and from the interim committee, had some language about telejustice, that is, where the defendant does not have to be physically present for different parts of the criminal justice process. And it was relatively open-ended and seemed to imply that the defendant only needed to be should only be physically present if constitutionally required, and kind of open the door to doing telejustice for everything else. And after committee discussion, I think the better course, which the amendment reflects, is that the default, the presumption should always be that the defendant should be physically present. And there are many reasons for that. The defendant being present, being in front of the judge, being there with defense counsel is really best practice. And it's only in those limited circumstances that, first of all, are prescribed and limited by the judicial branch rules, Colorado Supreme Court rules, but also we wanted to set in policy that telejustice needs to be done within those guardrails and to ensure that all of the constitutional protections and the contact with their defense counsel are fully maintained. And so with that, I would ask for your support for the amendment.
Representative Benavides to the Judiciary Committee Report Amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to echo Representative Carver's comments. We had significant discussion after the committee hearing on this amendment to get all parties to agree. This bill came out of the interim committee on overcrowding in the jails. And even though the state court administrator was working on this to some extent, we wanted to put a little push behind that, encourage him to do that, identify where there are shortcomings in the state for having this procedure. We also wanted to make sure the procedure was bolstered by the language, particularly in this amendment. Even though there is a rule of criminal procedure, I think it's Rule 43, that outlines these types of video hearings, I think this bill adds the necessary framework and the safeguards for the defense attorneys with respect to these hearings and encourages those when they're appropriate. So I would urge a yes vote on the amendment.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would also like to add this language has the support of the Defense Bar, ACLU, and judicial branch. So they believe that this is the right policy construct for going forward with telejustice.
Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I wanted to say thank you to Representative Carver and Benavides for working so hard with me on this and the entire Judicial Committee. This was my first time in front of the Judicial Committee, and boy, what an experience that was. So I do believe that this is a strong amendment and makes this bill stronger, and I look forward to passing it and then talking more about the bill.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L010? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L010 to the Judiciary Committee Report. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The amendment passes. To the Judiciary Committee Report.
And so that is the extent of the Judiciary Committee Report.
Is there any further discussion on the Judiciary Committee Report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Judiciary Committee Report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Judiciary Committee Report passes. To the bill, Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as Representative Benavides mentioned, this did come out of our interim committee on county jail overcrowding. This, I believe, is a very strong bill, so strong that the municipalities asked to be a part of it and will be able to support in the limited conditions to which we are providing this opportunity, an opportunity for our individuals who are incarcerated to have a speedier trial.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1131? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1131 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1131 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1279 till Monday, April 9th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1279 will be laid over until Monday, April 9th. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking for Representative Buckner.
I see Representative Landgraf. Representative Buckner is getting... Representative Buckner, come on down. You're the next contestant on the House floor. Representative Landgraf, would you like to start off? Or Mr. Randall, could you please read the title to House Bill 1187?
House Bill 1187, Representatives Buckner and Landgraf, House Senators Cook and Moreno, concerning the lawful use of a prescription drug that contains cannabidiol that is approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1187 and the committee report.
To the Public Health Care and Human Services Committee report. Representative Landgraf?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee report was actually a strike below that changed the bill.
Great. Is there any further discussion on the Public Health Care and Human Services report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Public Health Care and Human Services report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What this bill does, it will allow the FDA-approved non-THC CBD cannabidiol product to go into pharmacies as soon as it gets through the FDA.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill will make it possible with so many adults and young people who have seizures to have a drug that will control the seizures so they can live a more normal life. And like as Representative Landgraf said, this is a technical fix to the 2008 pharmacy laws for marijuana. So we're asking for a yes vote.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to the bill sponsors on House Bill 1187. I really appreciate the work that was put into this. The one question that was out there in committee, and I know we already passed the committee report, and so the committee report is now the bill. But the one question that came up is, are we unintentionally taking out opportunities that already exist in our hemp food industry, our medical marijuana industry, our recreational marijuana industry, or is this solely creating a new lane? The bright line intent of this is to create a new lane for FDA-approved drugs. There's no reason in Colorado that we should regulate what is already regulated by the FDA and is allowed for dispensing by pharmacists and allowed for prescription by those who are able to prescribe drugs already. And so this is a good fix that will not take out those things. And I've asked for legal advice on this and written to our drafter to ensure that we weren't doing any unintended consequences. And at this point, I'm satisfied with the advice that I've gotten from Legislative Legal Services to ensure that we're not unintentionally taking away opportunities that already exist for a very successful hemp food industry. And so with that, I support the bill and encourage the rest of you to support House Bill 1187.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to make sure that you know that this drug will help children with 2 forms of epilepsy that have no treatment at this time. We met a little girl the other day, and her parents are just waiting for this to hit the market, so it will help her daughter who has daily seizures. So vote yes. It's very important.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this little girl, her name is Vienne, her doctors at Children's Hospital, who are neurologists, are waiting for this bill to be passed so that he can use this drug, prescribe this drug for this little girl so she can live a more normal life. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Representative Singer for his hard work with the legal side of this bill. Thank you so much.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1187? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1187. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no? House Bill 1187 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1284.
House Bill 1284, by Representatives Buckner and Wilson, all Senators Martinez and Mendoza, concerning the cost of prescription drugs purchased at a pharmacy.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1284. There is no committee report.
To the bill, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, we've talked a lot in this session of various bills about the cost of drugs. This is one that will address that issue. This bill simply makes sure that patients don't pay any more than necessary for their prescription drugs. It involves 3 things. 1, information about the cost of the drug if they go through their health provider or if they go through the process of paying for it by cash. It gives them choice, which I think is the most important part of it, that they have an informed choice. And the 3rd thing, it's economical because they can have the opportunity to pay fewer dollars for their prescriptions.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will not reiterate everything that my co-prime sponsor said, but this bill really is about patients and pharmacists and pharmacy benefit managers. Now all 3 can have conversations together about what drug to use at the lowest cost, and those conversations are extremely important to save patients money while not skimping on the drugs that they need. We're asking for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1284? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, members. I heard this bill in committee as well, in Health Committee, and those of you that know me and know my voting record know that I normally don't like to get in between contracts, that the government shouldn't be dictating contracts. However, this bill only removes the gag order that has been seen on pharmacists before. So pharmacists are able to give the price to the patient that comes in. So if the patient is just saying, how much will this cost me if I come buy it, they're allowed to tell the price so that the patient can make a decision about how to pay for the drug and how to pay for this prescription. So I was a yes vote in committee, even though there is a little bit of contract language in the bill, because I think that it's important that pharmacists be able to help the patients and just be able to truthfully tell a price of an item if the patient is asking for it. So I urge an aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Buckner, Representative Wilson, well done. This is if you ask me, a true transparency bill. This addresses transparency at the point of sale, which I think is extremely helpful to the consumers. It's similar to, I've heard other transparency bills, and I always like to give the analogy of when you go into a restaurant and you order a hamburger, you're told the price of the hamburger. You're not told the price of the cost of meat and who they contracted with and all that. This bill doesn't go further than that. It tells the consumer, gives the pharmacist the ability to tell the consumer what the price of the hamburger is, in this case, the prescription. And I think that's going to lead us into a more free market type of atmosphere with prescription drug costs that's actually going to drive prices down more and more. So I applaud you guys for your work on this bill. This is a bill that I will avidly support. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1284? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1284. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1284 passes. Mr. Rando, please read the title of Senate Bill 55.
Senate Bill 55 by Senators Neville, House Representatives Van Winkle and Hooten, concerning the Crimes Against Children surcharge in cases involving trafficking of children.
Representative Van Winkle. Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 55, and I also move Amendment 11004.
Ask that it be displayed.
And I ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L004 has been properly moved and is displayed. Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment simply substitutes the words offender and offenders from defendant and defendants in the bill.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004 to Senate Bill 55? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L004. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Amendment L004 passes. To the bill, Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, this is Senate Bill 55, and we turn our eyes in this bill to the children of Colorado who are all too often preyed upon and violently violated by human traffickers. Whether it's forced slave labor or forced sexual servitude, children in Colorado, both boys and girls alike, all too often suffer at the hands of adults. Now, this bill doesn't contain all the answers, members, to solve human trafficking in Colorado, but it's a step. No single bill can solve it all. These victims deserve more resources that aid in their healing and restoration. And this bill does that very thing. It doubles the surcharge that is charged to folks that are convicted of human trafficking of children, so that more money can go to organizations that help restore child victims to normal lives. There's a second part of the bill that also turns eyes to the all too common claim of indigency made by human traffickers. These offenders who rake in money on the backs of children are allowed to tell courts right now that they are unable to afford an attorney or pay these surcharges and fines that they rightfully owe. This bill would make that harder for them to claim. And members, this bill is an invitation for us all to talk about this very serious issue. I ask for your yes vote to help fight this increasing problem and to protect the sanctity of our children's lives. And if I haven't convinced you, members, here are 1,363 signatures from school children across Colorado, mainly in Douglas County and Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, and Parker, who agree with this bill and have asked for the passage of it.
Representative Hooten, one moment, please. Members?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Members, we still have a few bills in the well. If you could please continue to keep the volume down, we'd appreciate it. Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to add also to my colleague's excellent explanation of the bill that the funds that are collected go to the Children's Advocacy centers, and there are 15 in the state of Colorado, one in each judicial district, and those funds go to provide services to children who've been sexually abused or have been trafficked for sexual servitude. We have a number of different ways that we can get resources to those centers, and this is one of them, and so we'd appreciate your support. It's a good bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 55? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 55 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 55 passes. Mr. Rando, please read the title to Senate Bill 169.
Senate Bill 169 by Senator Gardner, House Representative Carver, concerning offenses against witnesses in non-criminal proceedings.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 18-169.
The bill has been moved to the bill. Representative Carver.
Madam Chair, I have an amendment. I move L001 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L001 has been properly moved and is displayed. Representative Carver, would you like to explain it, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, first, this clarifies that I am dropping the language on administrative proceedings so that it only adds civil proceedings. This is a necessary clarifying amendment based upon discussion that came up in the Judiciary Committee. Just to briefly touch on what this bill does, because of a recent court ruling last year, witnesses that were in civil proceedings that were intimidated or retaliated against, prior precedent had been that that was a criminal offense if you intimidated or retaliated against a witness in a civil proceeding. There was a court ruling last year that said no, the statutory language is not clear. It's only witnesses to criminal proceedings, and this bill is to clarify that those witnesses in civil proceedings are also protected from intimidation and retaliation. This amendment is to drop the administrative proceeding language, which raised other unnecessary issues, and I ask for support of the amendment.
Is there any further conversation on the amendment? Representative Wiseman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, Rep. Carver capably described the background of the bill. We did have a pretty robust discussion about the scope of what is meant by an administrative proceeding when we had this in Judiciary Committee. I think that clarity is to be strived for in the criminal law, so I think this is a good amendment, and I appreciate Rep. Carver bringing it. I encourage support.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L001. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment L001 passes. To the bill, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I already explained the nature of the bill. This is to ensure that witnesses to civil proceedings that are retaliated against or there is intimidation, that is covered in the criminal code and properly punished. And I ask for support of the bill.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members, I rise in support of Senate Bill 169. A few years ago, I ran a bill that had to dealt with intimidation or threats against judges, and it passed. And I know the judges did appreciate that. And if we're willing to protect the judges from intimidation and potential threats, if we want to have a sound legal system, I think it makes very good sense that we ensure good protection for witnesses so that that they're willing to step forward and do the right thing. So I urge an aye vote for Senate Bill 169.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 169? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 169 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 169 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objections, the committee will rise and report.
House will come to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, the Committee of the Whole Big Jury reports on secretaries following church bills being seconded in the various following recommendations of the House Bill 1131 is amended House Bill 1187 is amended House Bill 1245 1270 is amended House Bill 1244 passed second reading regress place account for third reading found passage Senate Bill 55 is amended Senate Bill 169 is amended passed second reading revised place account for third reading found passage House Bill 1157 laid over until April 5th 2018 retains place on the calendar House Bill 1209 1231 1260 1279 laid over until April 9th 2018 retaining their place on the calendar.
Representative Escar. All right, the report of the Committee of the Whole. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Buck and Representative Liston. Please close the machine. With 56 yes votes, 7 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right. That takes us to announcements and introductions. Any announcements or introductions? Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Local Government Committee, we're hearing one bill today at 1:30. Be there on time. We will have remote testimony, and I want to make sure our remote witnesses from all edges of Colorado get your full attention, and we don't hold them there longer than we need to as well. So looking forward to seeing you all at 1:30.
All right. Any further announcements or introductions? Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm excited because Rangeview High School is visiting the Capitol today, and Rangeview is in my house district in Aurora, and the teacher in charge is Stephanie Walsh. And if you're here, wave at me. If you're not here, we're glad you're in the house. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And at noontime today, we're going to have the Legislative Caucus on Aging, and there's going to be a presentation on homestead exemption facts, projections, and exploring its future in Colorado. And that will be 12 to 1 in room 357. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I have an announcement today as well. Representative Buckner will replace Representative Jackson on the Transportation Committee and Transportation Energy Committee today only. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Foote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Announcement about state affairs today. We're just reiterating the calendar here. We're set at 1:30 in LSBA. We're going to hear Senate Bill 156 for action only, Senate Bill 116, then Senate Bill 76 for action only, and finally Senate Bill 70. That's 1:30 at LSBA.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Jay Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, if you'll notice, sitting on the side over here, we have a bunch of students. Those are students from my district, Burlington, Colorado. Great students. These are the students from the Eastern Plains I'd like you to welcome to the Capitol today. And somewhere with them running around the Capitol is former State Treasurer Mark Hillman. So if you see him, say hi.
All right, Representative Willett and Representative Lee. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we'd like to take a moment, a solemn moment, if you would, to recognize an icon of Colorado and Colorado skiing and Colorado sport, Bob Beatty, who passed away earlier this week. He truly was an extraordinary son of Colorado and was one of the builders of the ski industry here.
Just one moment, Representative Lee.
That's what you need. No.
Members, can we please have your attention?
The Colorado ski industry is a huge economic driver of the Colorado economy, contributing over $5 billion. But it truly is sport, and it is truly one of the things that Colorado is known as, and Bob Beatty is synonymous with skiing. Anyone who has watched ABC Wide World of Sports over the years knows Bob Beatty as a commentator. Probably one of his most notable moments was standing with Billy Kidd and Jimmy Fuega, two members of the U.S. Alpine ski team, as they won the first men's downhill medals in Austria, I think in 1964. I'm going to defer to my colleague for some further insights into Bob Beatty.
And members, if you are having conversations, please take them off the floor. Representative Willett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Rep. Lee. So what's really interesting about Bob Beatty is you may recall skiing was a European-dominated sport. The oldest ski area, I think, in America is Steamboat, and 50s, I think, Howlison Hill. 1915. But Bob Beatty, what he did was really bring skiing to America, with America then starting to medal, as Rep. Lee just said. He died at 85 years old at his son's home in Fruita, which is in my district. He was a U.S. ski team coach and the Olympics in '64, as we heard. He was CU's coach and led CU to 2 titles, and I think CU now has more national skiing titles than anyone else in America. Again, you've probably heard him as an announcer. Well, let me back up a little. He was an incredible athlete himself. In college, he lettered as a varsity athlete in tennis, skiing, football, and track. Isn't that interesting? And he went to CU as an assistant football coach before he took over the ski program. He's most famous, if you want to Google something fun, in 1976 Olympics, he teamed with the famous Frank Gifford to call the Franz Klammer gold medal downhill run, which is just a wild thing to watch. Franz Klammer's all over the hill, and Bob Beatty went crazy. Finally, then, he created the World Cup of Skiing, which is what we know now with Lindsey Vonn and Michaela Schifrin and others. So, Bob Beatty, great man, great Coloradan.
Thank you, members.
Thank you, members. Further announcements or introductions? Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess till 1 o'clock today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until 1 p.m. today. Oh, just kidding. Madam Majority Leader, would you like to withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Representative Dan Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry, members. I just want to remind the Finance Committee that we are going to meet at 10:40 a.m. That's in 8 minutes. We're going to start on time. We're going to rock and roll today.
All right.
See you there.
Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing none. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to remind you, 10 a.m. start tomorrow. Just repeating that for anyone who may not have heard it.
All right. Seeing, okay.
And I move that we stand in recess till 1 p.m. today.
Okay, seeing no objection, we will stand in recess until 1 p.m. today.